what I would have done this offseason if I were the Niners GM. Clearly, I'm not the Niners GM. I'm just quality control for now. But I would have done things a lot differently. The way I look at it is the Niners are basically saying they're contenders this year, but they're not really in a position to go all in and really push all their chips in and say, forget the future. This is our optimum time to win a Super Bowl. This is our moment. Because they don't even know who our quarterback is. You know, is it Trey? Is it Jimmy? How could you really go all in when you don't even know if Trey's ready or if Jimmy's the guy, who you're starting that year? I say, who cares who the starting quarterback is? I was talking about the Super Bowl window with Larry Krueger on this channel a few days ago, and he said the Super Bowl window is closed. I've been thinking about it a lot. I disagree with Larry. I didn't say it on the show. I've been thinking, sorry, Larry. We'll see. I'm going to see you today. I disagree. The Super Bowl window is open. You know why? Because of Deebo fucking Samuel. DFS. We're going to call him DFS for the rest of the show, all right? The Niners have Deebo fucking Samuel. DFS. Best player in the league. 26 years old. Super Bowl window is open as long as he is healthy and relatively cost-effective and not old. He's all those things right now. Go for it. Like, you almost won the Super Bowl last year with Jimmy Garoppolo playing like the worst quarterback in the playoffs. Am I wrong? Almost won the Super Bowl last year with Jimmy Garoppolo playing terribly in the playoffs. He had 8 different injuries. His shoulders, his thumb, everything. Almost made it. Didn't make it because they couldn't get the ball to Deebo Samuel down the stretch. He brought him a foot away from the finish line. They tried to go on their own, couldn't do it. DFS wasn't allowed to win the game for them. He could have dragged him to the Super Bowl last year. It was a missed opportunity. They're the best player in the league, should have won it, didn't win it. Probably would have won it had they had Trey Lance or any other quarterback, or just given the ball to Deebo 2 more times. 3 more tunnel screens. One of those could have gone for a touchdown. That's how his season went last year. When they were down 3rd and 20 with the season on the line, they gave him a tunnel screen. He went for 84 yards. In the 4th quarter, they couldn't do that. Anyway, so the Super Bowl window is open. It's called Deebo Samuel. It's called DFS. So what would I have done to maximize the Deebo Samuel window this year? Well, I think it's interesting. Like, we're looking at all these teams go all in right now. Now, we've been focused on Miami because Mike McDaniel's there. They bring in Tyreek Hill. That's a big all-in move. But Miami's not winning the Super Bowl. They're not contenders. Forget Miami. Let's look at Kansas City, all right? That's a championship organization. That's a team that has as good of a chance to win the Super Bowl as anyone this year. And they traded Tyreek Hill. And that's interesting. A lot of people think like the comparison there is Tyreek to Deebo. Both wide receivers, both going to make about $30 million. But Tyreek's older. Tyreek's 28. Deebo's 26. Tyreek is Kittle's age. They just traded their Kittle because Tyreek's game is all built on speed. Once the speed goes, his value goes. The Dolphins think it's not going anywhere for a while. But if you look at Tyreek's numbers, last year, great year. 11 yards a catch, career low. 4 yards per reception after the catch in yak. 4 yards per reception, career low. You might think, hey, this is the time to trade Tyreek Hill. He hasn't fallen off yet, but it's coming. Every time the Chiefs decide to get rid of a player, they're right. They never do it a year early, unless I'm missing something here. So it's interesting. They got rid of their 28-year-old speed merchant in their offense. And what'd they do? They also lost Charvarius Ward, Tyrann Mathieu, but in getting rid of Tyreek Hill, they get Juju Smith-Schuster, who also averages 11 yards a catch. If that's what Tyreek Hill's going to be now, they got that for a lot cheaper. And they got Marquez Valdez-Scantling, deep threat. They got Justin Reed. They got Melvin Ingram. They kept Frank Clark. They got a 1st-round pick, a 2nd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, a 4th-round pick, a 6th-round. So, did the Chiefs lose the offseason? Or did they get rid of an asset who's not going to be an asset soon? Did they play the Dolphins, replace one player with 4 starters? They got 4 starters. Juju, Valdez-Scantling, Reed, and Ingram. So this brings me to what I would have done this year. I'm inspired by the Chiefs right now. What I would have done as the Niners general manager this year, you know what I would have done. I made it clear all offseason. 2 players I wanted to trade, Jimmy Garoppolo, George Kittle. I would have you can wait on Kittle. I'm going to explain the Kittle thing in a minute because it has to be a post-June 1 designation. You could do it on draft night. Let's start with what I would have done. Trade Jimmy Garoppolo to Indianapolis for that 3rd-round pick before Deshaun Watson was cleared of the charges by the grand jury. Trade him when the Colts were interested and didn't know that Matt Ryan was going to be available. No one knew Matt Ryan was going to be available. The Colts were interested. The Niners held out for more. They blew it. I would have taken that 3rd-round pick. For starters, I would have entered free agency with $25.5 million in extra cap space. And then you're all in with Trey Lance at this point. And you can spend this money on, you could keep Laken Tomlinson, or if you want to upgrade, you could go get Brandon Scherf or something. You don't downgrade to Aaron Banks. You could still have Travarius Ward, or you could go get J.C. Jackson. You could get Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You could get Justin Reed. You could get La'el Collins. You could get Austin Hooper. There's so many guys you could get. Because most of the time when you sign players to 3-4-year contracts in free agency, the first year is very cheap. You give them a signing bonus. It gets more expensive down the line. As everyone knows, the salary cap is exploding the next few years. It's not as big of a deal. You can sign these guys. And you could even have space to front-load a deal. They could have had Laken Tomlinson and J.C. Jackson and Austin Hooper and La'el Collins. But no, they kept Jimmy Garoppolo. So I would have traded Jimmy. I would have spent all that cap space, all of it, to go all in with Deebo Samuel and Trey Lance too. But it's not about Trey Lance. It's about Deebo going all in now because he's 26 now. He's had injury issues too. What's he going to be like in 2 years? What's he going to be like in 1 year? I'm not missing this opportunity. It's football. He could tear his ACL. Funny things happen. He frequently pulls his groin and hamstring. I want to go all in right now while he's the best player in the league now. So you spend all that money. You get a replacement you sign a tight end in anticipation of trading Kittle, Hooper, whoever. And then when the draft comes along, which is you have another month to do this, although they can't because they extended him. They freaking extended George Kittle. Anyway, they extended George Kittle. Instead of doing that, they could have traded him on draft night for if Tyreek Hill gets a 1st, a 2nd, a 4th, a 4th, and a 6th. I'm thinking Kittle gets a 1st and a 2nd. Trade him for the 1st and the 2nd with the post-June 1 designation. It means you get the picks now, you free up the cap space later, and you can use that cap space to sign your draft picks and work out extensions with Deebo and Bosa, although their cap numbers are going to be the same this year with the extensions. They're going to get money down the line. They're extensions. You don't even need to create cap space this year for those guys. But anyway, you can use Kittle's money to sign your draft picks. You get a 1st and a 2nd for him. So now you end up having a 1st-round pick this year, 2 2nd-round picks this year, 3 3rd-round picks this year. And you end up getting 4 or 5 starters in free agency for the price of Kittle. I'll take it. Because I don't even know if Kittle's going to make it through the season. I don't know how many games Kittle's going to play this year. It could be 8. It could be 12. It's not going to be 17. I'll tell you that. I would do what the Chiefs just did with Tyreek Hill. Trade my 28-year-old guy who's built on speed. Because when they kept Kelsey. Kelsey's a red zone threat. Kelsey's a possession receiver. Kelsey is durable. Kelsey scores touchdowns. He's going to be valuable into his 30s. Kittle, 11 red zone touchdowns in his career. When the speed and yak ability goes, it's over. Kind of like with Tyreek Hill. So I would have signed I would have filled every freaking hole in free agency with a good vet, courtesy of Jimmy Garoppolo. I would have got a 3rd-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. I would get a 1st and a 2nd-round pick for George Kittle, and I would use that cap space to sign the draft picks. And you would get a 1st and a 2nd-round pick. Those are more starters. That's what I would do. I would do what the Chiefs did. I said the Niners did what the Niners did. All right, let's talk about what you would do in free agency. Boom, in the chat, in the description. I would have done what the Chiefs did. Yeah, I'd give Deebo Samuel $30 million to play with Trey Lance. You can afford it. You're not spending $30 million on a quarterback. That's the way I look at it. But now let's talk about what you guys would have done in free agency. If you've got the courage to come on the show. I know you guys are at work. Yo, what's up?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Happy Friday.
Thanks, man.
Hey, man. First off, I think we need to calm down and pump the brakes on the panic.
Okay. All right.
So I know we didn't go all in on free agency, but one thing about the Shanahans, I know, Kyle especially, is his focus is more on finding guys, whether it's on the coaching staff or players with the right traits, and then developing them and getting them to their max potential. Just look at our coaching staff, for example, how you got Mike McDaniel hired, Robert Saleh, and eventually DeMeco Ryans is going to get hired, as well as Anthony Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the players. Look at all the fifth rounders and undrafted guys that have either been stars or key contributors: George Kittle, Emmanuel Mosley, Aziz Al-Shair, just to name a few. So that's what I'm thinking. Even with Trey, they're gonna keep doing the same thing, which is find gems that others may not necessarily want, but have the right traits, coach them up, and then let them go get a bag elsewhere.
I hear you.
And my last point before I go is if a Tyreek type package or a Devontae package comes in for Deebo, I would have to consider jumping on it, and then because I got a feeling that Ayuk's going to be the number one receiver with Trey, because they seem to work. Trey likes to throw it more deep. Ayuk more of a deep guy, while Deebo more of a yak guy. Like, if Pittsburgh calls us up offering their 20th pick along with additional picks, or the Jets call, I got to consider it.
You would trade Deebo and not Kittle.
Yes, that is correct. I would trade Deebo and not Kittle, because Kittle has shown his value with both blocking as well as receiving and yards after the catch.
I'm just not going to say anything. Keep going. Keep going. No, I'm not going to say anything. Keep going. I'm listening. I am.
Okay, but yeah.
If you can't say anything nice, hyperventilating over here.
I mean, I like both.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
I like them both. Ideally, I'd like to keep them both.
Okay.
But great receivers are a dime a dozen. Like in this draft, there's about 15 to 20 of them. Tight ends, you don't find that many. You don't find that many elite tight ends like Kittle, Kelsey, a couple others. That's about it. So
yeah,
I think it's more likely. I'm sorry.
No, I feel you. No, definitely feel you on that.
So that's just my opinion. I know you might clown me, but I just had to get my 2 cents.
No, I feel you, man. Hey, this show is all about expressing your opinion. You want to trade Deebo Samuel? I think that's a pretty popular move, man. Thanks for coming on, Deebo.
Hey, of course, always a pleasure.
All right, man. See ya.